I mentioned the Marshall Plan because it's something that we examined and to see the effects. It was an intellectual exercise in my economics class. And the conclusions that we arrived at was that the trickle-down, the Marshall Plan was based on the idea of trickle-down. Just send a lot of money, invest in the big ticket items, and the benefits of that will trickle down to the lowest parts of the economy. And upon examination, 10, 20 years after the Marshall Plan, it turns out that trickle-down theory does not work. It is not the role of business. It is not the role of the private sector to try and help that the distribution of wealth. The job of the private sector is to add value to all that you are doing in services, in goods, and to follow a socially responsible profit motive. That is an important function in the progress of our society, of our economy. It is up to the government to change that situation. We must make active policy decisions. We must take active implementation of that policy, where the distribution of wealth is done at a much better pace. We must always look to the disenfranchised. We always must look to those who are vulnerable. And that is the job of government. And that is something that we have not been, I do not think that we have addressed properly. We hear often about the 7% growth rate, and yet we spend 65 billion on the CCTs. The poverty rate does not change. The unemployment rate does not change. The literacy rate does not change. The mortality rate in our hospitals does not change. So basically, the way we are doing it is not working. It is often cited, the examples of Brazil and India in the CCTs as a tool for the distribution of wealth. In Brazil and in India, the CCTs were funded by corporate taxes. Hence, you can see there really is a distribution of wealth element in that. In the Philippines, CCTs are funded by borrowings. So that immediately wipes out the entire, one of the most important parts of the CCTs, which is a distribution of wealth. So we have to rethink some policies. Anyone who has made even a cursory examination of any economy and its reactions and its policies towards poverty will know that direct transfer payments, i.e. throwing money at the problem, simply doesn't work. Hence the very famous Chinese saying about fishes. Don't give me a fish, teach me how to fish. And this is what we must do. We must give people the opportunity to make it better. How do we do that? The very beginning of that entire process, improve our educational system. With a well-trained, well-experienced workforce, you can do anything. And that will provide opportunities for people. That, again, if there are more high school graduates, there are more college graduates, literacy rate is improved. And in this day and age, our command of the English language is important. Because for better or for worse, that is the language of the internet, that is the language of commerce. All of those things we must provide as a service of government. And I have always believed in the principle that education is the most important service that government provides its people. And that is just the beginning point. Now, then you must again have faith in your own economy, and that you invest in it. You invest in your own economy. Because when you invest in roads, when you invest in transport systems, when you invest in power plants, you are not investing in an economy. You're investing in your people. Because you are making an investment to provide your people with an opportunity, with a framework in which they can flourish. Look at Filipinos abroad. When given the opportunity, they work, and knowing what the rules that are stable. You work hard, you do well, and with a bit of luck, you'll make it. And look at them, they make it. Filipinos make it. And we are not only successful, we are actually sought out because of the good work that we do. That all else being equal, they will choose a Filipino over another nationality. With such an asset, I cannot understand why we are in the doldrums when it comes to job creation, when it comes to the quality of life issues that we are facing. And can you imagine the 8 million Filipinos, all their skill and industry and resourcefulness that we are all famous for. Can you imagine bringing them all back to the Philippines? Can you imagine the contribution that they will make to nation building, to our progress? That is something that we really have to do, is to understand that government is here to provide a framework for the private sector to flourish. And there are many ways to do that, some simple, some more complicated, but nevertheless, that should be the job as we see it in terms of the partnership that we are asking the private sector to join in with government. On the tax structure, it will have to depend. The tax fiscal policy always depends on the industrialization policy, the investment policy of any country. I was a little bit surprised to hear in the SONA that our manufacturing sector was vibrant. I am still to this point trying to find where that vibrant manufacturing sector exists. So, but that is something that I believe we should be attending to. We don't make anything anymore. And the most successful economy in the last 10, 15 years has been an economy based on making things. China, they make everything. And that is what we should try to learn those lessons. The sad thing is that the IPIRA law, with its attempt to make the power sector more efficient and to allow privatization to come in, what has been the actual effect in its implementation is the raising of the cost to the consumer of electricity. So I think we have to rethink that, and the regulation at the other end, in other words, after privatization, we improved. So many costs that really are not rightly passed on to the consumer are being passed onto the consumer. There have been additional costs for the consumer to pay for upcoming projects. Now, how is that? How can you possibly justify charging a consumer a higher cost for a project that has not yet even been started? The capital investment should not come from consumers; it must come from the corporation. So, this kind of unintended consequence are some of the things that we really need to address. The question of power generation, distribution, and transmission has been something that has bedeviled the Philippine economy for a while, and that I think has been due to a lack of forward planning. We are reactive rather than proactive, but even in that sense we react very, very slowly. Hence the constant 8-hour plus brownouts in Mindanao, the 3 to 4 hours in Visayas, and the constant threat of the same brownouts here in Luzon. We have to increase our capacity, but to fix the capacity to generate. But we have to also fix the system at the distribution level. And when I mean distribution, I mean at the electrical cooperative level. Much of the costs that go into the cost of current are really there because of the relationship of the cooperatives with NAPACOR. The very liberal provision of debt by the NAPACOR, I guess because of their dealings over the last 20 years, the whole system has changed, and what has happened is that the NAPACOR and the cooperatives simply feel that they'll never have to pay any of these debts anyway. And so utang ng utang, passing on the costs to the consumer, and no increase, no betterment in the efficiency of the distribution. Actually,